Choose Your Legends 9 is here, and that means that we're going to get brave versions of Byleth, Baldr, Eignithir, and Sharena. In this video, I'll be going over all their preference weapons, their preference skills, all the new inheritable skills, and we'll also be talking about their best roles, their best game modes, and if you should pull. If you'd like to see my initial reaction to the banner, go check out the VOD. I'll have a link in the description down below. I reacted with Satachi and DTM. But with that said, let's get started with Byleth first. Okay, so we have Brave Byleth coming in with Sublime Creator as his preference weapon. This has Slaying, it has average stats, it has Distant Counter. It's going to have some pretty high true damage, average flat damage reduction, some special flat damage reduction as well, so you're going to get that double up if they do proc their special. You're going to get 7 HP healing after combat. And then he's going to offer some unique support as well, such as +5 stat support to all allies within 3 rows and 3 columns. He's also going to give out 7 healing, and he's going to give them neutralized penalties as well. So pretty nice support there. But the real claim to fame of Brave Byleth has to be his new style, Sublime Heaven style. So what this effectively is going to do is you're going to get a 3-space attack range. That's right. You thought 2 was crazy with Erica. Now we're getting 3. And that's not it as well. You're actually going to get extra damage against beasts and dragons as well. Now, what limits this effect is that it has a 2-turn cooldown. So you're going to be able to go in, hit somebody, and then you'll be able to wait 2 turns again. And so this makes Byleth an extremely interesting and unique type of frontline Omni-Tank type of unit. But before we get into that, let's talk about his preference skill, Professor's Guidance. What this is going to do is going to give you pretty high stats overall with a +9 to all. He's going to get a solid amount of true damage for an A slot, which is nice. Some average flat damage reduction. He's also going to have damage reduction halving, and he's going to get a potent follow-up 100% effect as well, giving him some real firepower. He's going to have no follow-up support. He's going to also have a times pulse support effect as well, that also gives out some stats. And also, funnily enough, it will give out a 2x SP bonus, so for all that training, it'll be a little bit easier, really falling into that professor role. But most importantly, it really gives out the double beacon effect. So if you don't know what this is similar to like Fel Spirit. Essentially, any type of effect that gives you a one-time damage reduction effect, such as something you would see in Armored Beacon or Gust or something like that, it's going to double up, just like Fel Spirit does. And this is an extremely powerful effect, so being able to have another unit who can give out that support, not only to himself, but to allies, is great. And then also, he's going to get times +4 in the second half, so essentially, he's going to have a full times pulse effect for his allies. Byleth will also be introducing a new B skill in Null Sea of Void. This is going to give you Phantom Speed 7, it's going to give you 80% AoE damage reduction, it's going to give you some stats as well, 15 true damage, and then also you'll get flat damage reduction of 20% based off your speed. And then lastly, of course, you get the NCD effect. So pretty interesting new Omni-Tank skill here, giving you pretty much everything you need. We'll have to see how good this actually ends up being, but it is a pretty interesting skill to give out as an inherit. When it comes to Byleth's stat line, it's pretty much average, solid attack, solid speed, high-ish defense, and then like middling res, so pretty solid for an Omni-Tank. But now let's talk about Byleth's roles and game modes. So when it comes to roles, Byleth is kind of like a frontline nuke tank who offers some support as well. So he's kind of that all-arounder we've seen more and more often lately. Very similar to like Fallen Male Lear in my opinion. He's trading the Miracle that Fallen Male Lear has for more damage and additional range, which is pretty cool. When it comes to game modes, he'll easily fit into Arena as an infantry unit. He'll have that higher BST, especially with the BST boost that you get right after COL. I think it's possible he could be used in Aetheryte's offense as an Omni-Tank as well, and possibly even on defense with that 3 extra range on some attacks. That could be really interesting. And then lastly, we have Summer Dose, and I think Summer Dose is going to be a really interesting place for Byleth. We're going to have to see how well he can perform. It's going to come down to like how bulky he can be as a frontliner. Can he take on the melee threats like Baby Camilla, like Emblem Erica, right? If he can do that, then he's going to be great because he's going to be able to go up, smack someone from 3 spaces, possibly kill somebody, and then get back to his team where he's most powerful. So I think this unit is really, really cool. It's a very cool hybrid of like a hit-and-run frontliner. And I think his style makes him really unique. I'm really looking forward to getting to play with him and to see how powerful he really is. But overall, I'm really impressed. I kind of wish he had like the black armor from his like Cypher art. But other than that, he's absolutely fantastic. Okay, next let's move on to Baldr, and holy shit, her design is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. So we have her preference weapon, Truth Seeker. This has Slaying, it's effective against flying. You have Iote's Shield, and then she even gets to have an extra space of movement. So as a flying unit, that's really powerful because you can just fly over terrain and like snipe people, right? Great effect there. She has average stats overall, and her true damage is average as well, but she has extremely high flat DR. She gets 20% if she doesn't have weapon triangle advantage, and 50% if she does, and she gets an additional layer of flat DR when the special procs, another 20 to 50%. So she has that extreme bulk that like Mythic Baldr has, but as a ranged unit, so that's kind of nuts. She also gets to have anti-guard, and then she offers some support as well with DR halving and special acceleration. But what really makes Baldr super unique and just the coolest thing ever is she has a new style called Green Style. And what this does is it lets her transform her color. That's right, our first unit in the game who can shift colors. So she can go from being a blue bow to a green bow, and that's going to be a big deal because a lot of her effects in her weapon and her preference skill are based off weapon triangle advantage. So this is just a really cool effect, and it allows her to be very versatile. But with that said, let's talk about her preference skill, Heaven's Stead. So this has a cancer remaining a minimum of 1, and then she's going to do a debuff of Triangle Adept and Exposure on the closest foe, and then it will kind of spread, right? Very interesting to see Triangle Adept in 2025. It's kind of nuts. She overall has pretty high stats of a +9 to all stats on an A skill, which is really good. She has average true damage for an A slot, which is also good, and an average flat DR. So she's going to have a pretty good amount of bulk and overall pretty solid damage. She has Canto remaining 1, which means that she can move around quite a bit. She has no follow-up, which is very good in the current meta because we don't have a ton of NFU right now, so it can shut down those guaranteed follow-up attacks and also make sure she can get her doubles in. But the big thing here is that she has a Brave attack. That's right, she can actually quad. Now, the quad condition is pretty interesting. So it's either if you have weapon triangle advantage, right? Or if you have exposure on the foe. And I really love this because it gives her a way to have a backup plan, essentially. So because she can be blue, she can obviously have advantage over red units, but then she could swap to green and have advantage over blue units, and then she'll have a neutral matchup against colorless units and green units. But in that case, you have exposure, right? And she herself gives out exposure, but also like exposure is one of the most common debuffs in the meta currently because we have so many detect skills. And so because of that, she should be able to quad quite consistently, and because she has pretty solid bulk as well, right? Because she could literally change her color to make sure she's getting that 20 to 50% flat DR. She's going to be able to hit really hard and take some hits as well. And I'm really excited for that. I think it's really a unique playstyle, and it makes her a very cool nuke. I think she's more of a true nuke that we've had in a long time. She does still offer support, but I think her ability to adapt to the opponent is just amazing and such a cool design. So then we have a new 5 cooldown special, which is really exciting, called Arch Rival. When the special triggers, essentially it's going to boost your damage by X% of either your attack or the foe's attack, whichever is higher. And it's going to be based off if you have weapon triangle advantage. So if you have weapon triangle advantage, you'll get 80% of your attack. And if not, you'll get 70%. So not the biggest difference, but pretty cool there. You're also going to get the 40% non-pierceable DR we've seen in most specials nowadays. But this is where things get really crazy. It can also inflict special cooldown charge -1 on the foe per attack, so you're getting a guard effect as a passive. And then also, if you have weapon triangle advantage, right, another key effect for Baldr, you're going to get special jump of 2 before your first attack, and you'll also inflict special cooldown +2 on the foe before your first attack. So what this can do is this can disable things like Shield Fighter. It can stop foes from hitting you back with a really powerful special, right? It's a very, very powerful effect for an inheritable special. Now, obviously, most units are going to be tied to that weapon triangle advantage clause. And for most units, that means that you're only going to be using this against like key matchups. But because of Baldr's unique effect to change colors, she can use it on a lot more matchups, which makes it just such a cool special and a great design. We really haven't seen designs like this in a long time, so it makes me very excited. Now let's talk about Baldr's stats. Overall, she's a pretty normal unit. She has high attack, high speed, okay defense, and decent res. Not the greatest bulk there, but she does have a lot of flat DR, so that will probably help her out quite a bit. Lastly, let's talk about roles and game modes. When it comes to roles, her main role is a nuke. That's what she's mostly doing. She does offer some support with like, exposure and the triangle adept and some like DR having special excel. Like there is support there, but it's not like the most crazy, insane, broken support. She's mostly just enabling herself to kill things. Now, when it comes to game modes, I could definitely see her being used in summer duels. I think that's where she's going to probably get used the most, and I'm very excited to play with her there. But I could also see her being used in something like Aether Raid's defense or even offense. And the reason for that is because it's possible, not guaranteed, but it's possible that she might be a Black Knight killer, right? She has a lot of things going for her against Black Knight. She has triangle advantage, she has brave attacks, she has ways to possibly turn off his special if he's not supported properly, right? If you don't give him like some kind of special jump support or something like that, she could turn off his special, which makes him less bulky. So there's a lot of things she has going for her, and she also has bulk, right? So that's 2. So it might be possible that she's using Aether Raid's offense and defense to kind of shut down Black Knight or just kill saves, right? It just really depends on her nuking capability. But overall, I'm just really excited for this unit. I can't wait to get my hands on her and to try to like play with her and see just exactly how well she plays. But overall, amazing design. Okay, next let's move on to Brave Eikthyr, and we have a new colorless armored save, and he is quite unique. So you have Slaying, and then you have like a Barricade effect, essentially turning off Warping. And then you're going to have like solid stats. You're going to have pretty high true damage. You have average flat damage reduction, which is based off his visible bonuses, which he does improve like every other Eignathyr. You'll have another layer of flat DR based off if you activate your special. He has distant counter if he's transformed. He's going to give out a visible attack and defense +6 as a visible bonus. And then he's going to give out a new type of support called Fringe Bonus. And what this essentially is it's like bonus doubler like his other forms, but it counts allies as well. So it makes it so that you're not going to be as weak to dull effects, right? If you have a dull effect, now you can kind of get around it as long as your allies within 2 spaces have like bonuses on you. So cool effect there, very much an Eignathyr-esque effect. You're also going to get a dull bonus support effect, and you're also going to get a null panic support as well. So that's pretty cool. Now what makes Eignathyr so interesting in my opinion is his preference special, Mighty Roar. So what this is going to do is going to boost your damage by 60% of your defense with special trigger, so pretty solid damage there. You're going to get 40% damage reduction just like all the time, just like Black Knight, but not a little bit less, right? You're also going to get a special jump effect based off your visible bonuses. Typically, it's going to be 3 special jump, which can allow you to enable your special, but it is before your attack, not the foes. You're also going to get a hardy bearing effect, which is very important, but it is based off a defense check as well. Unlike Black Knight though, he does have defense in his weapon, so that does help him out quite a bit. But the really big thing is that he gives out a visible +6 res bonus, and he also transforms an ally into a magical save. Right, a magical save. So in order to explain this, we have to go over his inheritable skill, so let's jump to that real quick. So we have AD Briar Physical Save. So what this essentially does is this is a save skill, but it only works against sword, lance, axe, bow, dagger, or beast units. So this isn't going to work against your mages or your staffs or something like that, right? And so it's very, very unusual. It's very different than any other save we've seen, as it kind of like works as a near save and a far save, but not completely, right? You'll be still vulnerable to dragons at melee range, and you'll still be vulnerable to mages and staffs at far range. But what this essentially does is just like a Briar save. It's going to give you some stats, it's going to give you some flat DR, gives you some damage reflection as well. Now, the thing with this and why it's so unique is because he gives out magic save to an ally. So it's very similar to like Brave Soren, right? Where he is assigning a decoy essentially. It's not called that, but it's essentially an assigned decoy to the unit with the highest res stat or his support partner. You can choose either one. And so what this lets you do is it makes you a new strategy very similar to a Soren Ball, but instead of where a Soren Ball where you have Soren and then you have 2 saves you choose, in this case, Eignathyr will always be that physical save. And so you could kind of make a magic save, a unit with really high resistance, because that magic save effect also disables adaptive damage. Not only does it do that, it also gives you the Veil Spirit effect, the same one we saw on Byleth, where it doubles the effects of the one-time DR. So that's really important as well. So it makes it so that your save is actually more powerful, where Soren just turns them into saves. He actually makes his magic save better. So that's really, really interesting. I'm really interested to see how well that turns out. The question is like, which units do you do with that, right? Personally, I want to use Athos because Athos is like, oh my god, I love Athos so much. Not only is he a really bulky mage, you get to have Ice Wall proc twice, and he has advantage against mages. So if a mage attacks him, he gets to kill them first typically. And then the only thing you're really worried about is Miracle, and then maybe staff units because he does have NCD built in. But I think that's an option. The other option, of course, is like just other armors. You can just use high res armors who have good mage matchups. So that's also an option. And so Eignathyr is just a really unique unit because he essentially is a Brave Soren variant, right? Which is pretty cool. Now, I do have some concerns about this as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later when we go into all the concerns about all the units. The other thing, of course, Brave Eignathyr does come with, it comes with Swap Gate. So that's a new inheritable skill. That's going to be great. It's actually the same thing as like Repo Gate, but with Swap, it's still only inheritable by armors and infantry, which definitely sucks. But I think this is going to be a very meta skill because Swap is used in essentially like on armors all the time in every game mode. So I think having that is going to be great. When it comes to his stats, he has very high attack, very high defense, good resistance, and very low speed. So pretty optimized stat line for Eignathyr. Lastly, when it comes to his roles and game modes, he is a tank support, mostly tanking, but he does offer that unique support. And when it comes to game modes, he can pretty much fit in everywhere. He's going to be really good in Arena as an armor. He can fit into Aetherite's defense because unlike Soren, his effect actually activates turn 1 on defense. So you can use him as a save and then like maybe use somebody else as your mage save. And of course, it's possible to use him in Summer Duels as well. That's typically where you see Soren balls at, so he'll definitely do well there. On offense, maybe you could definitely make it work, but I'm not the biggest fan of save balls on offense, so that's really up to you if you want to try and make that work or not. Okay, with that said, let's move on to our final unit, Brave Sharena. And oh my god, this unit is so cool. I'm so glad that she got done justice. So we have a green tome cavalry with Gladsbach. This has slaying, and then you're going to get some average stats. A little bit better than average, actually, because it's uncapped. You're going to get average true damage of about 25. You're going to get full no fall. You're going to get 7 HP healing after combat. And you get 100% potent follow-up attack, which is really, really cool. But what really is unique about her preference weapon and what makes her stand out is that she can grant an extra action to other allies. That's right. So it's kind of like a dance effect, or even similar to her effect that she had on Bridal Sharena, but for other allies. And this is just a game changer. This is such a powerful effect. This allows Sharena to be very flexible. She can do stuff like reposition or stuff like that, right? Maybe you have a detect skill, you do detect support, and then the other ally goes in and attacks, and they can get an action back. It's so powerful. This is just, I think this is like super just ridiculous action economy, especially when you see what her preference skill can do, which we'll talk about in a second. So overall, very, very cool effect right there. Now let's talk about her preference C skill, just like Mother. So this has Canto Distance Max 3, and then at start of player or enemy phase, you're going to give out some support. So you're going to give out Creation Pulse support, which is especially special jump support. It's the same skill we saw on Brave Robin last year. You're also going to get Empathy support, which gives out a good amount of stats, so that's pretty nice as well. You're going to get an average amount of stats here, like attack and speed +5. You're going to get good true damage. Now, the thing about this is that most C skills don't give out true damage yet, right? We've just started to see that on T Ingrid, so it's very nice to see this already on her PRF skill. It also gives some good flat DR, which is very much necessary, but the big survival effect is a miracle. She has a full miracle effect in her C slot, and this is just a godsend. Miracle is very good right now. It can allow you to work really well with Reflex and just get a ton of damage that way, so love to see that Miracle there. But the real claim to fame, the biggest thing in this C skill is Sharena's unique effect. The one we saw on Bridal Sharena. She can get herself an extra action. So when the ally attacks, she will give out an extra action to herself and to that ally, which is crazy action economy. Being able to have like Sharena like either go in and kill something and then cancel back and then have another ally go in and kill something and then get 2 actions, or just have Sharena do like a reposition or a swap or whatever, right? And then have an ally go in and get 2 actions. That's a game changer. Not only is that amazing in like Aether Raid's offense for like, let's say, a Gale Force team, but it's also just like backbreaking in Summoner Duels where you're just getting so much action economy, right? Getting 2 actions at the same time is just ridiculous. And so I think this just makes Sharena like a standout in my opinion. Now, there are some concerns, which I'll go into, I guess, at the end of this, after we talk about her inheritable new skills, which will be Speed Res Shackle, a new B skill. And what this essentially does is at start of turn and after you act, you're going to inflict 2 new penalties called Speed Shackle and Res Shackle. What this will essentially do is Speed Shackle will inflict a penalty on the foe's speed during combat, where it's the number of penalties active on the unit +4, max of 8. And then the same with Res, where it's going to do that but with resistance. And then the base skill itself inflicts speed and res -4, and then you're going to get up to 15 true damage. So pretty solid there. I mean, it's essentially a B skill that gives you 12 speed, 12 resistance, and 15 true damage. Like, you really can't complain about that. It's a very, very powerful effect. She's also going to come with an insane new attack speed A skill, attack speed Aria. So essentially, if she initiates combat or she's within 3 spaces of an ally, she's going to get a bonus to her attack and speed based off her maximum special cooldown +7, and then also when her special triggers, she'll get additional true damage based off the max special cooldown times X, where X is 5 normally, but it will be 3 if you have a Brave attack. You're getting up to +11 attack and speed if you have a 4 cooldown special, and then you get like additional true damage. The true damage can get really high if you have a high cooldown special. It really depends on the unit itself, which special you want to run, but getting special like that much true damage on an A slot with that many stats is really fantastic. It's like a very, very good A skill in my opinion. Now, when it comes to her roles, Sharena is a nuke, but she's also a support, and she's also a Gale Force unit. Like, she's just the full kit. I love this combination. I love Gale Force. I love nuking, so like just fantastic there. When it comes to game modes, she's pretty much viable in every game mode except for Arena. She could technically be used in Arena, but she's going to score quite a bit less than your higher scoring units. But she's going to be great in Aether Raid's defense. She can just be really surprising, right? She could go in and do like a Micaiah swap, and then like go in, kill something, go back. Somebody else goes in an attack. She gets another action. She gets them another action. Like, she is just there for all kinds of traps. On offense, she could be a Gale Force unit, right? Or like a hit and run unit and be fantastic there. And then the same thing in Summer Duels. You can just use her no matter what, right? She's an action economy bot with support. So at worst, you put Detect on her and she's doing swaps and detecting the entire enemy team while giving out extra actions. Or she's a valuable nuke and then she does, damage and then also gives out extra actions. Now that I've gone through all that, let's go back in reverse order and talk about the things I'm a little bit nervous about. So with Sharena, the biggest thing I'm nervous about is her ability to kill things and survive. She doesn't really have a ton of flat DR. She does have Miracle, but if you're running into a save that has, like, let's say Erica Ring, she might just die on the Brave attack, right? So that's like the biggest thing I'm worried about with her. We need to find a way where she can essentially survive attacks like that, and not just be fully reliant on Miracle. So that's my biggest thing, right? Damage and survivability. But other than that, I think she's fantastic. Now, when it comes to Eikenthir, the thing I'm really worried about is his survivability and then his viability. So when it comes to survivability, the thing is, like, he has pretty solid flat DR overall. It's not like insanely high, but it is good. Less than Black Knight, but still pretty solid good. The thing is like, can he survive our current melee threats? Can he survive a Camilla? Can he survive an Emblem Erica? I'm not 100% sure, right? Because he does have Hardy Bearing, which is great against Camilla, but a lot of Camillas have adapted, and they kind of just run like Miracle Erica Ring, and it lets them even kill Black Knight like a decent amount of time, right? So I'm a little bit nervous about that, where he's essentially having to fight against all the physical matchups, like melee and range. So I'm a bit nervous about that. And the other thing is, like, while he does give you an extra team slot in a Soren Ball because he's taking up one of the save slots, once he stops surviving things, right, like with all saves, once they fall off, the problem is he becomes a liability then, right? Unlike Soren, who can just put the best 2 saves in every time, he won't be able to do that because he'll always be one of the saves. And so if he falls off and starts dying to everything, then his viability like just plummets essentially. That's the biggest thing I'm worried about with Eikenthir. With Baldr, my biggest worry is just damage. Can she kill things, right? Can she actually kill Black Knight? That's my only worry, really. Can she survive, I guess, too? But I think there's ways to make her survive pretty easily. So I'm not too worried about that. But definitely her damage. We'll have to see. But she's probably one I have the least amount of worries about. But we'll have to wait and see. And then lastly, we have Byleth. And when it comes to Byleth, it's pretty much the same things. Can he survive? Can he actually kill things, right? As a frontliner, you're just up against Baby Camilla. And Baby Camilla is just a broken unit. Like, she's just 100% broken. And so, can Byleth survive that? And can he act as a powerful frontliner against all the units you're going to have to deal with, which is a lot. And then is he going to be able to kill things, right? Can he actually go up and kill things and take advantage of that style? If he can, he's going to be fantastic in every game mode. If he can't, then he's just going to be completely not viable. So it's really going to come down to like the matchups, like the very key matchups we currently have, those meta matchups. If he can do well there, he's going to be great. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the video, should you pull? So when it comes to pros, we have units with 2 new styles, which I think is just fantastic and cool and very unique, right? Whenever you can have a unit with a unique effect and fade, that's always a win in my opinion. With Eikenthir, we're going to get a new Soren Ball-esque comp, which is really fun for me. I really like that type of team. Overall, the banner has a ton of valuable fodder, from new specials to new nuking A slots to new like support nuking B slots with Sharena. Sharena is just a gold mine of fodder in my opinion. So there's a lot of cool units here, very unique designs, and with very unique skills, right? Things that we haven't seen on any other unit, essentially. The banner also is pretty friendly, as it has 4 sparks for everyone, not just Fade Pass users. So if you want to spend a lot of orbs here, you can. We also get a free copy of every unit. So typically what I recommend is like go in 1 spark, try to get like 2 units, right? 1 unit from the spark, maybe 1 unit you pull, and then you pick up a free unit. And that way you have like 3 out of 4 of the Brave units if you have decent luck, right? That's typically my advice. Now, when it comes to cons, we do have an amazing Hero Fest currently. We have like a lot of meta units on that Hero Fest, right? We have Baby Camilla, who I've been talking about. We have Duo Rhea. We have Marth, right? So overall, pretty good there. We have the Bird too. Bird is not as meta, but she is very good. We also have powerful T heroes right now, right? Ingrid is very powerful. We haven't got a full test of her at SD quite yet, but Reflex is broken, so that's the reason to pull on the T banner right there. We also have Black Knight rerunning in September. Now, will Black Knight die to Baldr? That's the question, right? If Baldr becomes so prevalent, she can just push Black Knight out of the meta, then maybe his rerun doesn't matter as much, but I kind of doubt it. We also have a Tribe banner coming up probably pretty soon. And the other thing, of course, that I have to bring up is that Choose Your Legend units run a lot. They rerun all the time. You're going to see them absolutely in December. They usually come back in April as well, and sometimes they just show up in random banners before that. So you're going to have a lot of chances to pull these units, so you don't need to feel like the pressure of pulling immediately. You could always wait and then pull later if you need to. So don't feel pressured to do that. But definitely, if you want to pull these units, if these are your favorite characters, go for it, right? That's the whole point of playing Fae at this point. Play with your favorites. With all that said, I'd love to hear from you now. What do you think of this banner? Who are you going to be pulling? Who do you think is the best? Who do you think is the best out of these 4? If you want to hear my opinion, go back and check my VOD. I talked about it quite a while with DTM and Satachi. We kind of ranked them arbitrarily, but honestly, these 4 are kind of hard to rank. They're all very unique. But either way, I'd love to hear about it, so make sure to drop a comment down below, letting me know all your thoughts about it. And as always, I'd like to thank all my members for their constant support. Couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you so much. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you guys all later with more Fire Emblem Heroes.